Hey everybody, ElementXII here. I'm going to be doing a new format for this video. I've always wanted to step into doing more commentary style videos, and I really want to try doing it sort of like this. Whenever I do more like reviews and countdown style videos, I'm probably going to use a similar format to this one as well. The character art that I'm using is done by the awesome and super nice MintCMYK, whose Instagram will be linked in the description, so go check them out. Their artwork is great. So for this first video that I'm doing with this new style, with everything going on in the world right now, I wanted to go back to a time that was more fun than it is right now. So with that being said, let's talk about Japan. I may have mentioned in a few random videos here and there that I went on vacation to Japan. That's sort of why I took a bit of a break on my channel for a while, and issues related to that. But I want to talk about Japan as a whole. Being someone who loves anime and video games, I've always just wanted to go to Japan. And I watch NHK World all the time, which is basically a Japanese Asian news channel. And they always have a show called J-Trip Plan, which always goes over like planning a trip to go to Japan. And every time I watch that show, I'm always like, oh man, I really want to go. And after watching one particular episode, which I'll mention in more detail later, I was like, you know what? I gotta go. We gotta go to Japan. I gotta plan this, find out people I can go with, and let's do it. I just started like texting all my friends, being like, hey, I'm serious inquiries. I'm gonna go to Japan. I want to go to Japan. If you want to come with me, let me know. And we formed a group. I went with a friend Russ, which you might remember on the channel for like Phoenix Wright videos and a few other random videos here and there. Another friend of mine, Bryce, which has not been on the channel yet. You know, never say never. And my dad, who was sort of a last-minute addition because my mom decided to have a panic attack like a few months before the trip happened. So just to help her calm down, my dad came with, and he had to stay in a separate hotel because we couldn't get the same hotel as ours. But it was pretty close, and as much as we liked it, I don't think he liked it. I wouldn't say hated it, but he definitely didn't love it. He was very middle ground. For me and my friends, though, it was nothing short of life-changing. But just so I can sort of get them out of the way, I want to briefly talk about some of the downsides from going to Japan. The biggest is the plane ride. Like, it was a 11 and a half hour plane ride to Japan and about a 10 and a half hour plane ride back from Japan, which that was excruciating. It was awful. Mostly because the night before we left was St. Patrick's Day. So we're drinking, we're hanging out, we're getting our final preparations ready. But we're also excited and nervous that I think I only end up getting like maybe 3 hours sleep maximum that night. But I was thinking like, oh, we're going to be in the airplane for 11 hours. So I'll probably fall asleep once we start moving. And I didn't, because I freak out whenever I'm on an airplane typically. I remember the last memory I have of being on an airplane was I was in middle school. I went to Tennessee with my family, and it was during the winter, and there was quite a bit of turbulence happening. And I remember the turbulence, it freaked me out because the airplane was moving quite a bit. And ever since then, I've never wanted to go on an airplane for pretty much as long as I lived, but I figured with this trip, I'd built the confidence to get over my fear of airplanes, which I kind of did. I still don't love them. Obviously, with Japan, it's such a long plane ride that was awful, but the plane ride itself wasn't bad, aside from just it being long. The only thing was on the way, no, the way up was fine, but on the way down, like landing, on like a side of I think around my right eye, there was like this really like tight pain, which a lot of people were saying. A lot of my friends I was hanging out with were saying that it was the air pressure, like the air pressure of going from a high altitude all of a sudden dropping to a low altitude. It can like affect you in certain ways, and that was one of them. Which, yeah, I guess so, because they told me to get gum, which I sort of got gum going back, and it helped it a little bit. Mostly because I didn't actually get gum because I don't speak the language very well. I ended up getting like a chewy candy instead, which was good, but not gum. But it helped a little. So the airplane ride sucked. Luckily, we all own Switches, so that made it more tolerable. And they always have all sorts of like movies and stuff you can watch. So I'd watch like 2 or 3 movies on the way there and back, and then, you know, sort of TV shows here and there. A few other minor things that kind of sucked about the Japan trip is that Japan is not necessarily made for big people. Like, I'm slightly overweight. Like, my friends aren't, but they're all of us are tall. We're all at least 6 feet tall or taller. My dad is like the tallest of all of us, but there are a lot of low roofs in Japan and small areas. So if you ever get claustrophobic, unfortunately, that won't help your case a lot. Also, there's a lot of walking because cars, while people still drive cars in Japan, it's not the easiest way to get around. Just using the subway is the easiest way to get around, or the railway. So you're going to be doing a lot of walking when you're in Japan. Also, up and down stairs, because Japan, since it's an island, they can't really spread out horizontally, so they spread out vertically, either up or down. Lots of stairs. Every time we got home, or back to the hotel, our feet were friggin' sore as hell. But hey, at least that helped us kind of just go to bed. As soon as we laid down, we're just like flop, right to bed, right to sleep, ready to go to bed, ready to wake up and do everything next morning. Also, another little minor thing that happened to me is I lost my rail card at some point while we were in Japan. I had to get a new one. But that's just a really minor thing. Like, again, it didn't ruin the trip. It just was kind of a bummer. But yeah, if you're going to be in Japan, you're going to need a rail card to pretty much use any of the railways. It's super easy. Otherwise, you're going to have to go through, like, the line, and if you don't speak Japanese, it's going to be a nightmare. So, getting a card for that is going to be super easy. I want to make more tips. I was originally planning to just have this video have, like, little tips about travel to Japan. But I ended up writing down so many that I think it would be easier just to have it be its own video. So, on top of that, there's going to be a separate video. Probably not super soon, maybe eventually. But I'm going to do a video about tips for traveling to Japan. This is more just going to talk about my experience in Japan. A little tip also I'm going to throw in just for now, because it's a fun tip I remember, is I have a teacher who travels a lot, and he always told me to eat yogurt for the first, like, about a week before you go on a trip to somewhere new. Because even if the food, you know, is amazing, there's a chance that your body might not handle it because it's used to eating one type of food for so long that you might end up getting sick. So yogurt's supposed to be good for your stomach, which I did it for about 3 or 4 days beforehand. I didn't do it the full week because I just didn't have time to get yogurt. But I had no problems in Japan. I had one issue, but that's because it was like real spicy food. But other than that, like, I had no issues just about the normal food, regular food in Japan. And I told my friends about it, and they did it for a few days beforehand, and they had never had any issues either. So, as far as I'm aware of, the tip works. It's pretty good. But about food, oh my god, the food! Japanese food is so good. There was so much fucking good food. I'm gonna have them fly across the screen. I'll put pictures on the screen of the different food I had in Japan. I took pictures as much as I could. But wow, the food was so good. Like the friggin' ramen, the sushi, the omelet rice, all the cool stuff at like the Pokemon Cafe, the Capcom Cafe, the different seafood restaurants. Hell, right across from our hotel, there was a little takoyaki stand which had the fucking best takoyaki. Before I went to Japan, I thought takoyaki was okay. I left Japan loving takoyaki. I still haven't found a single place in America that had takoyaki as good as that takoyaki there. There was one place that was really close, which was the Octopus restaurant. It's like a sushi restaurant in Burbank, which, oddly enough, takoyaki is octopus, so it's funny. They got really damn close, but still nothing that was like exactly like that, and it was so good. We probably went to that place 2 or 3 different times. I think we each had all the different flavors of takoyaki they had, because you can get different like seasoning stuff on top. But oh my god, I freaking love takoyaki now after going to Japan. I wanted to briefly talk about some of the places I went to in Japan, because there were a lot of really cool places that we went to while we were in Japan. Like I mentioned, the food part, went to a Pokemon Cafe, two different Pokemon centers. There was one in the Sky Tree, which is by where we stayed in Asakusa. And there was one in downtown Tokyo. It had the cafe attached to it, and it was a whole huge one, and it was super cool. Went to the Capcom Cafe, which had like a Capcom store attached to it, which Devil May Cry 5 just came out at the time, and I'd gotten most of it completed at the time, so that was super cool. Went to Akihabara with this friggin' huge electronics store with the Tower Records in it, which made me super happy because I really miss Tower Records. Went to like the Imperial Palace in Japan. Oh god, there's so many, the Sky Tree, like, oh, there's so many cool places. I'm probably forgetting off the top of my head, but there's a few I can think of just right now, just briefly, some of the smaller places that are super cool. Went to an Owl Cafe. I wanted to go, we've been to cafes in America once or twice when they popped up in LA, but Owl Cafe was something completely new, which was a very unique experience. It was less a cafe and more sort of like a walk-in petting zoo that they gave you a free drink, but it's unique. It's definitely an interesting thing. Like, we went there, it was fun. You know, just lots of cool stuff. We went to the Anime Japan, which is like a convention at the friggin' this huge place that they always see in anime, like Tokyo Big Shot, I believe it's called. After going to so many anime conventions and video game conventions in America, it's really fun and unique to see what it's like in Japan. We stayed in Asakusa, which is a little part of Japan, which is close to Tokyo, and it was a pretty good place. It was fun. It was really fun, actually, because there's this huge gate, the Kaminari-mon, which we always met up at every morning, and it was super cool. And Asakusa was great because it was still very, like, old school Japan, while also being, like, kind of high-tech still. So it's like this really cool combination of the two. And we definitely hang out there a lot because just the area was super fun. The hotel we stayed at was like a little ryokan, which is like a traditional Japanese hotel with the tatami mats and the futon stuff. Which that was one thing I was worried about, is one of the things my mom kept saying, like, oh, you're gonna sleep on a futon, you're gonna hate it. And surprisingly enough, I didn't hate it. It was super comfy. The only issue I had with it is that there's only one pillow per futon, and I'm a pillow man. Like, I have multiple pillows on my bed. I'm one of the people who I can't go to sleep properly unless I have like multiple pillows. But that was easily solved when we went to Don Quixote in Japan, which Don Quixote is fucking great too. Just because they're just a big department store. It's kind of like Walmart, sort of, but like the Japanese Walmart, but vertical, and obviously more anime stuff, which is fun. But yeah, we got a little travel pillow from there, and as soon as I got that, it was perfect. Just the futon pillow plus the travel pillow I got, which is the perfect, like, help me stay comfortable. And the ryokan staff were super nice, and they cleaned it every morning and put it away for me every morning, which is super cool. But yeah, our hotel was super cool. It was in a perfect spot, and it was great. I want to talk about the two biggest moments for me in Japan. I mentioned before I was watching a show called J-Trip Plan, which is the thing that kind of sparked me into wanting to go. And there's one specific thing that they were talking about on an episode that was what the big spark for me that made me want to go to Japan was, and that was the Numazu Deep Sea Aquarium, which for most people you'd be like, oh, an aquarium sounds kind of cool, but not worth going to Japan over. For me it was. The way they talked about it, the way it looked was super cool. The biggest thing for me though is is the only place in the world where you can see a technically alive coelacanth. Like, it's cryogenically frozen, but every other place it has in the world is like, you know, taxidermized or preserved or something. This is cryogenically frozen, it's technically alive, and that was like an amazing thought to me. Like, I love the coelacanth ever since like the first Animal Crossing game on GameCube, and like back in middle school I did a project about coelacanth, so the coelacanth have always fascinated me. Hell, I might even think about doing a video about a coelacanth. A dedicated video would be kind of fun. But the coelacanth has always been like a really interesting thing to me. So the second I saw that, that's what really sparked me to want to go. And going to Numazu itself was great because they had like they had the sea gate there, or the water gate it was called. And just when you go to the top of there, you can see like the top of Mount Fuji, which was super cool. It was kind of cloudy when we went, but it was still really cool. The actual deep sea aquarium stuff was awesome. It was like really dark, and it was like very small and cramped and kind of spooky, and it was really cool like that. They had like the giant fucking spider crabs with the really long legs that always freaked my friends out, but I thought they were super cool. And obviously the coelacanth was great. They had isopods, which were cool. They're dank little meme boys. I love them. And we left with like coelacanth plushes. I think my friend got an isopod plush. It was super cool. And obviously the seafood there was also really great because it's right by it's like a port town. So it's like right by this ocean. So the seafood there was fucking great. But that was super cool. I expected that to be like the biggest moment for me, but I think after the trip was done, the biggest moment looking back was the Ghibli Museum, which unfortunately I can't show too many pictures because they're extremely strict about photography in and around the Ghibli Museum. I'll put up a few pictures, the ones I were allowed to take. But unfortunately I couldn't take too many, but it was such an amazing experience. The whole museum is built like something from a Miyazaki film where you got like a steampunk elevator in the middle, and you've got like weird little staircases that lead to like nothing, and it leads to like different things here and there. And it just, the way it was built was so cool. The roof had a garden that was inspired from Castle in the Sky, which is great. And just like, it was so crazy walking around there. Like Miyazaki was a big thing growing up for me. Like, that's the first thing that made me really like anime. Like, for a lot of people it would be like Pokemon Yu-Gi-Oh, which obviously I watched Pokemon Yu-Gi-Oh all the time. But when I saw Kiki's Delivery Service for the first time on like Cartoon Network, it sort of like hit me in a different way that the other animes usually do, where I was like, oh, this is a thing. Because before I kind of looked at Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon and like, oh, they're cartoons or like a card or like a video game or a card game. I never thought of them as like, this is an anime. But the second I saw Kiki's Delivery Service, it hit me in a way where I'm like, oh, this is something unique. This is not just a regular cartoon. This is something different, which would make me really like discover anime and like really become interested in anime. So just seeing like the replication of like his office, where you see like the way his office looks, and seeing all these like cells from like different Miyazaki works that I've watched growing up, just it was like really meaningful. I was like, there was a few points where I was kind of in tears. I was tearing up. I was like, I'm here. Like, I've lived my whole life watching these things, thinking of Japan as like this some magical faraway place, and now I'm here, and now I'm seeing where it came from, and it's like really important and magical to me. I didn't mean to sound too sappy, but that's generally just how I felt. And obviously they had a little cafe too, which was super good. Even just the walking there, like it was in a park, and this whole park feels like something out of like a Ghibli movie, where it's just like you see this park, and then like you take one turn, and all of a sudden there's like a bridge, and then you see like this little like little old school like town that's like in the middle of this like park, and it's like really cool. But yeah, it was such an amazing experience. So Japan was great. It was definitely a life-changing thing for me. I definitely want to go again. Obviously, with everything going on, that's not going to happen anytime soon, unfortunately. Even before this whole pandemic was a thing, like, the earliest I was thinking about going was, like, sometime in 2021. But that's not going to happen anymore. Just because I feel like 2021 is going to be when people are going to start traveling again. So it's going to be insane for a while. And also, the Olympics were postponed. I don't know when they're postponed till, so I assume probably 2021. We'll see. But also, I'm actually going to start school in the fall. So hopefully that's not going to affect videos too much. It probably will. I'm just to be honest. Me going to school in the fall is probably going to affect how videos come out. But, like, because I'm starting to go to school in the fall, I'm probably not going to graduate until 2022 at the earliest, I believe. So maybe in 2022 as like a graduation present for myself, I might do another trip to Japan. Or maybe another trip just in general, because I've been doing some ancestry stuff recently, and I've been kind of wanting to go to Sweden a little bit, because a lot of my ancestors are from Sweden. So part of me kind of wants to go to Sweden, but I don't know, Japan looks fucking cool, again. It's always cool. It's hard to not to think of Japan as cool, because it's freaking awesome. Would I like to live there? I don't know. Probably not. But it's fun going there. I would definitely want to stay longer. Like, we only stayed about a week and a half. It was 10 days. I think it was 10 days we stayed. But I would definitely want to plan maybe like a month, or maybe like 2 or 3 weeks, maybe. So yeah, I definitely want to go again. I absolutely want to go again. But with everything going on in the world right now, that's going to be put on hold. Probably until this whole thing kind of blows over. But yeah, that was Japan. It was super awesome. If you have any questions about Japan, about thoughts I've had about anything related to Japan that I went to, or just anything you want to say hi, just drop a comment below. Also, make sure thumbs up the video, subscribe to my channel, and until next time, this is ElementXII, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out.